Ambassador Zixathala pressed her crystalline fingers against the viewing portal of the Galactic arbitration station, watching the modest human transport vessel dock with their colossal diplomatic facility. Her translucent body shimmered with barely contained disdain as she observed the crude, angular design of the human craft. "Such primitive engineering," she murmured to her aide, diplomatic attaché Morvek. "Look at those crude welding marks, the inefficient hull design. These humans have only been spacefaring for what? 2 centuries? And they dare request mediation in the Andorian territorial dispute?" Morvek's tentacles writhed in agreement. "Indeed, Ambassador. The Andorians have been a spacefaring civilization for over 12,000 years. Their crystalline cities span 17 systems. What could these mammals possibly offer as mediators?" Zixthala's form flickered through several colors, the Zilithian equivalent of contemptuous laughter. "The Galactic Council must be desperate to even consider this request. Humans have no natural telepathic abilities, no bioelectric perception fields, no quantum consciousness networks. They can't even sense emotional resonance fields." She turned from the viewport, her movements graceful despite her obvious irritation. "They're going to embarrass themselves spectacularly. The Andorians will never accept mediation from such a limited species." The massive blast doors of the docking bay hissed open, and 3 humans entered the station's diplomatic wing. The lead figure was a tall, dark-skinned woman in her 50s, wearing a simple black suit with minimal ornamentation. Her nameplate read Dr. Amara Okafor, Earth Diplomatic Corps. Behind her walked 2 companions, a younger man with graying temples carrying a worn leather briefcase, and an elderly woman whose sharp eyes seemed to catalogue every detail of their surroundings. "Welcome to Arbitration Station Nexus," Zixthala said, her translator rendering her words in standard Galactic Common. "I am Ambassador Zixthala of the Zilithian Hegemony, appointed Chief Mediator for the Andorian matter. I must express surprise at Earth's request to participate in these proceedings." Dr. Okafor smiled politely. "Thank you for accommodating us, Ambassador. I'm Dr. Amara Okafor. This is Professor David Martinez, our xenopsychologist, and Dr. Elena Volkov, our game theory specialist." "Game theory?" Morvek's tentacles twitched. "You approach interstellar diplomacy as a game?" "Everything is a game, young attaché," Dr. Volkov replied in accented English, her words translated seamlessly. "The question is whether you understand the rules you're playing by." Zixthala's form flickered orange, mild irritation. "The Andorians have been at war for 6 centuries over mining rights in the Kepler Nebula. 37 different mediation attempts by 17 different species have failed. What makes humans believe they can succeed where the greatest diplomatic minds in the galaxy have failed?" "We don't have telepathy," Dr. Okafor said simply. "We don't have emotional resonance fields or quantum consciousness networks. We have something different." "And what is that?" Zixthala asked, genuinely curious despite herself. "We lie." The silence that followed was profound. Morvek's tentacles went completely still, a sign of shock among his species. Zixthala's crystalline form froze, cycling through colors rapidly as her translator confirmed it had rendered the human's words correctly. "I'm sorry," she said slowly. "Did you just say you lie?" "Constantly," Dr. Okafor confirmed. "We lie to each other, to ourselves, to our enemies and to our friends. We've turned deception into an art form spanning everything from poker to politics to warfare." Professor Martinez opened his briefcase and pulled out several data tablets. "Every species we've studied has some form of natural truth detection mechanism: telepathy, empathic resonance, bioelectric field reading. You've all evolved to be honest with each other because deception was impossible. Humans," Dr. Volkov added with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "evolved no such limitations." Zixthala's form had stabilized into a deep purple, confusion mixed with fascination. "But how do you function as a society if no one can trust anyone else?" "That's just it," Dr. Okafor explained. "We learned to trust despite the ability to deceive. We developed contracts, verification systems, reputation networks. We had to become extremely good at reading intentions through behavior rather than through psychic connection." The diplomatic conference chamber was vast, designed to accommodate the Andorians' massive crystal-based architecture. 2 delegations sat across from each other, the Northern Andorian Coalition on one side, their bodies composed of living mineral formations that rang like bells when they moved, and the Southern Andorian collective on the other side, their crystal structures darker and more angular. Neither group had spoken to each other in 47 years. The Northern Coalition maintains exclusive mining rights to sectors 7 through 12, declared Ambassador Kethavar, his crystalline form resonating with harmonic authority. Our ancestors established these claims 3,000 years ago. Ancestral claims without active development become void after 1 millennium, countered Ambassador Velnira from the Southern Collective, her darker crystals producing a discordant counterpoint. Our surveys indicate you abandoned those sectors for over 1,500 years. The argument continued in the same pattern it had for centuries. Each side presented logical, legally sound arguments. Each side was completely, utterly correct, according to different interpretations of Andorian law. Each side could sense the absolute honesty and conviction of their opponents, which made compromise impossible. Zixathala had watched this exact debate 17 times before with different mediators. She turned to the humans, expecting them to begin the traditional process of finding middle ground, the approach every previous mediation attempt had tried. Instead, Dr. Okafor did something unprecedented. She lied. "I have to inform both delegations," she announced, "that our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual dark matter fluctuations in the Kepler Nebula. Our scientists believe there's a 60% probability of a Class 7 quantum cascade event within the next 2 years." Both Andorian delegations fell silent, their crystal forms resonating with harmonics of surprise. Zixthala's form flickered rapidly through multiple colors. There was no such thing as a Class 7 quantum cascade event. Dark matter fluctuations were impossible to detect with current technology. Dr. Okafor was lying with such casual confidence that even Zixthala's truth-sensing abilities were confused, but the Andorians had no such abilities. To them, this human statement carried the same emotional resonance as absolute truth. "A cascade event would make mining impossible," Ambassador Kethavar said slowly. "For centuries," Ambassador Velnira agreed, "the entire nebula would become a dead zone." Dr. Volkov leaned forward. "Our model suggests the only way to prevent the cascade is through controlled mineral extraction that disrupts the dark matter accumulation patterns, but it would require precise coordination between mining operations at specific points throughout the nebula." Another lie, but delivered with such technical confidence that even Zixathala found herself questioning whether it might be true. Professor Martinez pulled up holographic charts, completely fabricated but impressively detailed. "If both coalitions worked together, following this extraction pattern, you could prevent the cascade and actually increase total trilithium yield by 37%. The Andorians studied the charts with growing excitement. The mining pattern was ingenious. It gave each coalition exclusive access to different high-yield sectors while requiring them to coordinate timing and extraction rates. "This is actually feasible," Ambassador Kethavar admitted. "More than feasible," Ambassador Velnira added. "This pattern optimizes extraction efficiency beyond anything we had considered." Within 6 hours, both delegations had signed a comprehensive cooperation agreement. As the Andorians filed out of the conference chamber, already deep in technical discussions about implementation timelines, Zixthala approached the human delegation. "There is no Class 7 quantum cascade event," she stated. "Correct," Dr. Okafor replied calmly. "There are no dark matter fluctuations in the Kepler Nebula." "Also correct. You fabricated the entire scenario." Dr. Okafor smiled. "The scenario, yes, but not the solution. That mining pattern really will increase efficiency by 37%. Professor Martinez spent 3 months analyzing their geological surveys. Zixthala's form cycled through colors rapidly. But you lied to them. You deceived 2 entire civilizations. "We gave them a face-saving way to accept a compromise that benefits everyone," Dr. Volkov corrected. "Sometimes the truth, that pride and stubbornness were preventing an optimal solution, is less useful than a fiction that allows rational actors to act rationally." Professor Martinez packed away his tablets. "The Andorians are logical, honest people. That was the problem. They couldn't lie to themselves about their legal positions, and they couldn't sense deception from each other, so they couldn't engage in the kind of diplomatic theater that allows for compromise. You introduced controlled deception into their negotiation framework," Zixthala said, understanding dawning in her crystalline consciousness. We gave them permission to be practical instead of principled, Dr. Okafor agreed. Sometimes that's what diplomacy requires. 3 months later, Zixthala found herself in the Galactic Council chambers, presenting the human diplomatic approach to the assembled ambassadors. The Andorian mediation had been so successful that 17 other long-standing disputes had been referred to Earth's diplomatic corps. The humans possess a unique advantage in interspecies negotiation, she explained to the gathered representatives. Their natural capacity for deception allows them to introduce controlled fictional frameworks that provide psychological space for compromise. The Quantum Collective's representative, a being of pure energy, crackled with curiosity. You're suggesting we should trust beings who admit to lying? I'm suggesting we should utilize beings who understand that sometimes truth is less important than resolution, Zixthala replied. In the past 6 months, human mediators have successfully resolved conflicts that had persisted for centuries. The data was undeniable. The Rigel border dispute, solved through a fictional ancient treaty that gave both sides what they wanted, while allowing them to save face. The Vegan trade war ended with an imaginary market fluctuation prediction that made cooperation appear economically necessary rather than politically expedient. They don't lie maliciously, Zixthala continued. They lie therapeutically. They create useful fictions that allow rational beings to act rationally without admitting they were being irrational. The Council voted unanimously to establish permanent human diplomatic liaisons in all major conflict zones. Dr. Okafor stood on the observation deck of the newest diplomatic corps vessel, the UES Consensus, watching construction begin on humanity's first permanent embassy in the Galactic core. 37 successful mediations had established Earth as the galaxy's go-to species for impossible negotiations. Professor Martinez joined her at the viewport. Strange to think that our greatest weakness became our greatest strength. What weakness? Dr. Okafor asked. That we're the only species that evolved to lie to each other. Dr. Okafor smiled. David, that was never our weakness. That was our superpower. We just had to find the right application. Behind them, Dr. Volkov reviewed files for their next case, a 3-way territorial dispute that had been raging for 8 centuries. She was already crafting the perfect fiction that would let all sides claim victory while achieving an optimal solution. In the vast cosmos filled with telepathic truthsayers and empathic honest dealers, humanity had found their niche, the professional liars who told the exact lies everyone needed to hear. And for the first time in galactic history, the truth was that sometimes lies worked better than truth.